Salut, bonjour, and welcome to francofille, a creative podcast. My name is Devin, and this is where I document my knitting and other fiber-related crafting. If you are tuning into the podcast for the first time, thanks so much for stopping by. And if you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry at @bdevin. You can find my Etsy shop Instagram, right? The Instagram for all of my hand-dyed yarn at francofille. Francofille is also what you can use to find the podcast group on Ravelry. It's where I sometimes post show notes and other threads related to the podcast. There may be something kind of popping up in there soon, so keep your eyes out for that. What else? And then francofille is also my Etsy shop. So if you are looking, sorry for that little noise. If you're looking for any of my hand-dyed yarns or things like that, that's where you can find it. I didn't think there was going to be a lot to talk about today. And then I started putting together my little list of things and realized that I actually have a fair deal to talk about. So maybe this won't just be a 15-minute episode after all. There's some new stuff in the shop, but no new ready-to-ship or dyed-up yarn. I'm going to be seeking a little bit of input from you guys for next week. But grab your knitting. I'm going to dive right in. Something to drink maybe. I've got my iced coffee here. We have definitely reached that point in the year. Let's just kind of get going. So, I have a finished object, which is really exciting. I finished it all of 20 minutes ago, maybe? It is a very, very fresh finished object. And it is my June Sock Club socks. I'm going to slip them onto sock blockers here. I gave you guys a little bit of a preview of the colorway and pattern last week, mostly because I was just too excited to stop myself, even though I wasn't actually planning on revealing anything until this week. But you know, when you've got something fun, you just want to share it with the world, right? I finished these today while I was getting an oil change. Ooh, glamorous life. Knitting at the getting car work done. But fun finished pair of socks here. Okay. Whoop. So the colorway name, actually, I don't think I mentioned that last week, but it is frais, which is French for fresh, which I don't know, just seemed very appropriate to me. It's a very fun and refreshing colorway. I enjoy it for sure. And then the pattern name, which will be going out this evening to everyone who joined the sock club this month, is going to be, these are my vaguely summery socks. Right? And that is just a name that makes me giggle to myself because I'm kind of ridiculous. But so in French, the word for a wave is c'est une vague, right? Vague is where we get vague. It's spelled the same way. So this is what happens when I don't leave my house often enough. I come up with ridiculous things like that. So, right, you get the little waves, the chevrons and things like that. And it is vaguely summering with the eyelets. But it's still a wool sock, right? And a tall wool sock at that. Let's see what to tell you about the pattern. I think I mentioned before that I'm doing, the pattern is cuff down. It has my sideways toe that I really like. And then I'm doing afterthought heels in this. And I will give sort of my rule of thumb for where I place my afterthought heels in the pattern, right? How to figure out doing a cuff down toe or cuff down sock, where you place your afterthought heel, especially a cut-in afterthought heel like these are. Now, obviously, you know, feel free to replace this with a short row heel or the heel of your choice, right? Like that is the magic of sock knitting. You can do that, especially when you've got just pattern on the leg itself, right? Really easy to swap out whatever you want in a pattern that way. But yeah, if you've never modified a sock pattern before to suit your own preferences, I think that's something you should definitely try out. Right? Don't feel that you are married to the pattern. Maybe the first time you knit a pair of socks, so the first couple times, yes, follow your pattern pretty strictly, just so you get an idea of what's going on. But after that, if you get one of my patterns and you don't like a sideways toe, or you really like a wedge toe or a star toe or something like that, go do that. Like do your toe, do your preferences, right? If you really love a fish lips kiss heel or German short row or a heel flap and gusset, pop that in. And you know, if your pattern has a heel flap and gusset but you prefer a cut and afterthought heel, go do that. Like there are some patterns obviously where they get real cute with patterning and things like that, or it's something really unique where you can't do that. But for the most part, if the main important thing about the pattern is the actual stitch patterning and not construction, have at, make it yours and make it something you're actually going to be happy with. At least that's my philosophy. So yeah, these are done. I am actually at the moment, I don't know which one is which. I already am not quite sure which one is the one that I just finished and which one was the first one knit. And to be honest, as a dyer, I'm really pleased with that fact. Let me explain why. So one thing I've noticed both for myself and, you know, on Instagram and hearing other people talk about indie dyed yarn, and especially like speckled indie dyed yarn, is that if you're knitting socks with it, you can sometimes get inconsistencies with the amount of speckling on one sock versus the other, right? And as a dyer, I totally understand why that happens, right? It can be really hard to make sure that dye is getting placed evenly and consistently over an entire skein. And so I make a really sincere point of being particular about how I lay out my skeins when I'm going to dye them, especially if I'm speckling them, to make sure that I'm getting even coverage and that there's going to be even speckling, or at least, you know, relatively even speckling throughout the entire skein, right? It's, you're not going to get one sock that's really heavily speckled and one that's not so much, right? So, yeah, I'm feeling pretty pleased with the distribution of speckles on these two socks. So, yep. Yeah, even like the little, I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but there's really subtle variegation between the different like aquas and bright greens and golds kind of through here. Very subtle, but I love it. Some of them did end up with a little bit more pronounced variation than others, but I think it'll still knit up really, really nicely. So yeah, these are my vaguely summery socks, and the colorway here is Frais, right? And these, there are actually a couple left in the shop. And is there anything else I wanted to say? Yes, there are a couple left in the shop. This is basically the last chance to get this colorway on these bases. I am out, actually, as I'm going to talk about at the very end, but I'm out of my Chaussette base and my Normandy base, and don't necessarily foresee reordering them anytime in the future. So if you really love that base and would like some sock yarn in those bases, like, now is the time to visit the store, because once my current stock of these bases goes away, it's gone. And again, I know I've talked a lot about how much I love those bases, so stay tuned for the end of the episode to the shop update section, where I will explain why. yeah, why I'm abandoning bases that I love. All right, moving on. That is the only finished object that I have this week. I'm feeling pretty pleased that I've had finished objects to show you guys at least the last 2 episodes. So that I feel like is a step in the right direction for me. I feel like I can just hang out showing you guys the same exact 5 projects every episode for forever. Maybe that's not actually how it ends up, but it feels that way to me sometimes. Like I'm just constantly knitting on the same things for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I guess that is the downside to non-monogamous knitting. But anyway, I have made a little bit more progress on my giant crazy brioche scarf. Kind of gotta fold it for you guys to be able to see the whole thing at this point. Let's see here, there's the progress keeper. So I've gotten through about 2 full repeats since I last saw you guys. I did spend a lot of time, a lot of my knitting time this last week working on those socks, making sure that they'd be done by tonight. But yeah, just continuing to get to work through this scarf and really, really just loving every minute of it. There were a couple of times, I don't know, I had some bad mojo with this scarf this last week. What happened? There were a couple, like 3 or 4 times actually while I was knitting, something would happen and the needle would come out and I would end up dropping a bunch of stitches, and dropping brioche stitches is no joke. Right? Doing repairs in brioche is not fun, right? It's never fun to have to repair your knitting, but trying to figure out how to do it with brioche, and especially brioche where you've got a bunch of traveling stitches like this, it wasn't cute. It wasn't good. Luckily, I was able to actually repair it and not have to frog, but yeah, that definitely slowed me down and not want to work on this for a little bit. One of it, I'm trying to think of like, when did this all happen? Excuse me if you heard that little noise. Apparently I don't have my iPad silenced, or my phone silenced, one of the 2. Yes, so last weekend I went up to my parents' house on Saturday. Jordan was flying into O'Hare, so basically if we're ever traveling in and out of O'Hare, we just go hang out with my folks because they live like 20 minutes away. So I went and spent the afternoon with my dad and my brother and hung out there until about 11:30 at night because Jordan's flight got in at midnight. So it's a little like midnight Chicago time, and we live on East Coast time, so that's 1 a.m. So we got home after picking him up from the airport at about 3 in the morning. I was chugging coffee all evening to make sure that I would be wide awake. And then of course I couldn't fall asleep until like 5 a.m. So this week has just kind of been a little bit rough trying to get myself back on a normal sleep schedule. But anyway, while I was hanging out at Mom and Dad's, that was one of the times where I had to repair some dropped stitches. I think either Ezra or their cat, somebody jumped up on the knitting while I was trying to work on it. It wouldn't have been Ezra, actually. No, I take it back. It must have been the cat. Ezra doesn't really jump. So, yeah. And then Lucy did the same thing like 2 days later. And, frustrations. Sometimes knitting and pets just don't mix. But yeah, slow but steady progress and still really enjoying the knit, as long as there are no mishaps. The knitting itself is actually quite fun. Here. You can see there is one place, this little leaf here. Oh, it's a little bit smaller. It's a little smaller than this one. Partially because I didn't do the increases where they were supposed to go. And so I've got like a row in here where it's just, you know, knit purl across. No shaping or anything, right? But this little leaf, I had to do increases there so that it would at least be close to normal size. But I think it's really not that noticeable unless I'm looking for it. And I think, yeah, once it's completely done and stretched out, I won't even know. But yeah, it's not always smooth sailing, but it's good enough. So what else? Details on this, I think I mentioned last week, this is eventually going to be a gift for my mom, who wanted a nice big cozy squishy scarf. And there's no real pattern, it's just something I'm making up as I go. And I don't think I'll end up writing it up because it's basically, it's this motif is based off of the Candy Leaves hat, which I knit last fall. I don't remember who it's by, but there are some modifications to it. Like I extended the leaf motif a little bit. I changed it around the format and all that, but still, I mean, it's not my original motif, so I feel a little weird. But anyway, yeah, the yarns, this lighter color on the front, the main color is Madeline Tosh Merino Light in Cosmic Wonder Dust, and the two colors on back that are getting striped through. This is Manos del Uruguay in Allegria base, and I don't remember still the colorway name. I should have looked that up. It was not one of the things I looked up before today's episode. Oops. And then my Door County sock in Door Horizon. And all of these yarns were gifted to me. So it's just kind of extra fun and special, you know. Yeah, so lots of fun. Yeah, if you've never knit brioche before, I definitely recommend giving it a shot. It is a lot of fun. It is very meditative and engaging in a way that just straight up stockinette is not. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Definitely will be more brioche projects in my future as well. What else? In terms of other things I actually did do and work on, because that is the extent of my knitting for this week. Part of that is because I basically took my Memorial Day weekend and spent it spinning. Right? Sunday and Monday were basically me getting reacquainted with my wheel, which I hadn't really used probably since January. Yeah, part of it was I was getting really frustrated with not being able to spin consistently, and the yarn I was producing, right? The singles I was producing weren't very consistent. And I was having issues with plying where even if I were getting singles that I liked, I felt like when I was plying it, either they would break or it just wasn't turning out right. I just wasn't happy with, with what I was producing, right? And so between that and then devoting a lot more time and energy into my knitting and the dyeing and all sorts of other things, the spinning just kind of got pushed to the side, right? And it's easy to push things to the side when they're bugging you, right? When it's not something, when it's a challenge, right? It's not something you're immediately thrilled with. So, how did this come up? Why did I decide to renew my interest in spinning? Well, my spinning wheel sits in my living room, right? So I do see it every single day, and every single day it does kind of haunt me a little bit, right? Yeah, sings out to me, why are you not spinning, and things like that. So I was doing that, and then was organizing my stash like I do periodically, and I was organizing my fiber stash, which is, I'm always surprised how much fiber I have to spin. It always feels like I don't have much at all, but I actually do have a pretty good sized fiber stash. And at the beginning of the year, I like for Christmas, I got 3 good size quantities of baby alpaca roving from my mom. She had gotten it from, like, directly from a alpaca and, yeah, an alpaca ranch out in Colorado near where she's got a place. And like my goal this year, you know, by the end of the year, is to be able to spin that and produce like a nice yarn out of it. So it's something that I could actually knit up, and like I'd love to knit a sweater out of it. It will be the warmest sweater ever, being made out of 100% baby alpaca. So we'll see about that. But you know, I'd like to be able to actually spin it and use it. Yeah, because it was such a special gift. And I know right now that I am not currently capable of doing that. So I decided to get myself a couple Craftsy classes and watch those over the weekend and do some practicing with some fiber I really didn't care too much about. About a year ago, I got some, I don't remember if they're called batlings or fuzz-lings from fondant fiber. And they're just little, you know, fist-sized balls of combed fiber. And just like a random assortment of different colors and different fibers and things like that, right? They're just kind of like little extras that didn't make it into different, you know, orders. And so I decided to watch the classes and then practice some of the techniques using those small quantities of fiber, right? So the 3 classes that I got and that I was watching were Foundations of Spinning with Amy King, right? I started with that one, and that was great because I've never actually taken any sort of spinning classes, right? When I got my wheel, it was a gift, and I just kind of watched a bunch of YouTube videos and tried to figure it out on my own. That's probably why I'm not producing anything I'm really thrilled with. Like the wheel came with like an instruction booklet, but it's instructions on how to assemble it. And it's just all diagrams, right? Like there's no actual instructions on how to use it. I have an Ashford Kiwi. Mom got it used from somebody, so yeah. So yeah, that class was really, really helpful. Just in terms of like the basics of here are the parts of your wheel and here's how different things work and these are the different kinds, and just, I mean, really the foundations of spinning, right? It's exactly what the name of the class is, and it's exactly what it was, right? And then I also got Drafting from Worsted to Woolen by J.C. Boggs Faulkner and Spinning Dyed Fibers with Felicia Lowe. I'm halfway through the Drafting from Worsted to Woolen, and I haven't started the other one yet. And so basically I'm at the point where I'm practicing the different techniques just to kind of get a feel for what I can produce, and just kind of I'm focusing right now, if you spin it all, I'm focusing on forwards short draw. Is that right? Yes. Yes, and I was doing a lot of Navajo or chain plying. I've only got 3 bobbins, and so that seemed to work out pretty well. And I was also just using small quantities of fiber. And so I started, yeah, I'm focusing on developing that muscle memory, right? Getting the right feel for doing this, and paying attention to like what ratios I'm using, what tension I'm using, all that kind of stuff. Just so, you know, again, I can produce something that I'm actually happy with. So those classes I really recommend. I'm not sure if the sale is going on still, but Craftsy was doing a sale on some of their classes last weekend. So definitely go check it out. I actually had purchased 2 of the classes a while ago, I think back in January. The Foundations of Spinning I just purchased this weekend. And the really nice thing about Craftsy is that once you purchase the class, you can go back to it as many times as you want, right? Like it's stored in your account. So that's kind of fantastic. And you know, if you can ask questions to the instructors and all that kind of stuff too. So it's actually a really great platform. So yeah, if there's a technique you're looking to learn, and you're not finding tutorials that you like, or you're watching tutorials and you still have questions, maybe check out Craftsy. Yeah, so full disclosure, I'm a little bit embarrassed by my spinning attempts from this last weekend. They are currently sitting in little balls on my mantle. They're just gonna stay cute and decorative. But I don't really want to show them on the podcast because one of them especially is just a hot mess. Yeah, so I'm learning. It's fine. So yeah, I'm gonna hopefully keep up on that a little bit, right? Just kind of continue to make slow but steady progress. Yeah. The one thing I'm expecting, right? The one downside I think to practicing on the little fuzz-lings, right, is that they were a mix of different fibers, and I think that makes drafting consistently harder. At least that's what I seem to be picking up from reading other people's comments, because the staple length isn't consistent from fiber to fiber necessarily. So I'm going to go back to working on some undyed BFL that I got a while ago. I'd started spinning some of it up and then got frustrated and then abandoned it. So I think I'm gonna pick that back up and see how it goes and see if that's not easier to draft. So perhaps some of my my unhappiness may stem from using more complicated fibers than I should be as a beginner, but whatever. I'm learning. It's fine. Let's see here. Next project. I've already decided to cast on another sweater, and another striped sweater at that. I've been wanting to knit this sweater. It's the Breathing Space sweater by Veera Valimaki, who also designed the Color Affection shawl, which I knit a while ago. I've done 2 of those actually. But yeah, I've been wanting to knit this sweater it feels like forever, but at least 6 months. And kind of just kept putting it off and being intimidated and putting it off. And I don't know, finally this week I decided this is the week to do it. Like I want to do this project. I want to cast this on. It's going to happen. And if it takes me 6 months to knit, then it takes me 6 months to knit. You know, whatever. Like I want to do this. I'm not going to force myself to hold off for some arbitrary reason. So I bought the pattern, I caked up the yarn. I already had the yarn in my stash. Like I picked out yarn last August for this project, right? Like it was gonna happen at some point. But yeah, so I am gonna hold up 2 of the skeins that aren't already caked up. I'm gonna be knitting it out of Mad Tosh Merino Light. And the colorways here are Modern Fair Isle. Get a little closer so you can see it. Right. Love the orange and sort of charcoaly gray speckles on this. And Whiskers, right, which is this really beautiful, almost like grayish colorway, right? It's not quite gray, it's not quite beige, right? It's a little bit, it gets a super, super warm tonal gray, if that makes sense. So I'm really excited. I think these 2 are going to be really gorgeous striped up together. I've got my cakes ready to go. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Again, I'm going to do my best not to put too much pressure on myself to finish it in any sort of timely manner, especially because it's June. It's not like I'm going to be racing to actually get to wear it. I'm not going to be able to wear this thing for months yet. So no real rush on that front. But yeah, I think these two colorways are really, not only are they going to go together really well, but I think it's going to end up being something that I get a lot of wear out of. So the gray is my main color. So like the yoke and the hem and the cuffs are all going to be in this. And then the modern Fair Isle is going to be the contrast where it's only going to show up in the stripes, right? So yeah, I'm really excited about this project. I'm a little nervous about it. I want it to end up being a little bit more fitted than the Clark pullover was. And honestly, part of that is because I'm afraid I might not have enough yarn. I may be setting myself up to play some yarn chicken, which, yikes, I don't know what I'm thinking. I have like exactly the yardage that the pattern calls for the size that I'm making. Which seems reckless to me. Yeah, hopefully I'm not having to scour the internet for another skein of whiskers, especially because I think it may be a discontinued colorway. That may be a bit of a problem. I may end up making half sleeves instead of 3/4 length sleeves. We'll see what I have to do. But you know, I'm willing to adapt if I have to. But yes, I'm hoping this goes well. Somebody made a comment on Instagram, Jenny, that I need to take an over bust measurement instead of a true bust measurement. I don't know quite what that means or why that's what I need to do, because I clearly, I mean, I don't make garments, right? Like I make accessories. I'm a sock knitter, I'm a shawl knitter, although I haven't really knit a shawl in a while, right? Sweaters are still new to me, so maybe that was part of my issue with my last one too, was I was taking the measurement from like my full bust, right? Where I would assume you would take a bust measurement from, right? Instead of going above that. So if you have any idea what I'm talking about, right? If you have any advice on this front, I would love to hear it. It would be super helpful for me. So yeah, comments below, let me know what that means and if that's what I should do, because if that's the case, then I may need to size down. Maybe not. Because my full bust measurement measures like exactly what the pattern, like for one of the sizes the pattern calls for. So, and that's the quantity that I bought. So we'll see. Let me know any advice. And if you've knit one of Veera Valimaki's sweaters before, or if you've knit this sweater before, and you've got any tips or tricks or comments or any thoughts on it, like again, let me know down below. If there are things that I should know before starting this sweater, I would really appreciate it, because sweater knitting still intimidates me. Not gonna lie. I know I talk about like, don't let knitting intimidate you. Yeah. Sweater knitting still kind of intimidates me. But I'm doing it. I'm still trying it. It's just, it's a big project to end up not happy with it. Do you know what I mean? I guess that's my main concern when it comes to sweater knitting. Like, am I gonna really invest all of this time and effort and honestly money, right? Because you need a lot of yarn for a project I don't really like. I don't know. You're like 2 skeins of yarn for a shawl. If I don't like the shawl, you know, at least I enjoyed the knit, and like I can justify it that way. But like 5 skeins of yarn for a sweater, again, not small. I need a lot of yarn. So yeah, that's my next sweater. That I'm seriously tempted to cast this on like as soon as I'm done with the podcast. I finished the socks right beforehand. I was tempted to cast on the sweater before starting the podcast, but decided against it. I can show you guys caked yarn and you'll understand that I'm about to start a project. I don't actually have to cast it on and then show you like 2 rows of knitting, right? This is a little bit better of a place. Yeah, that's where I'm at. That's gonna be my evening, probably. Beyond that, I've been thinking a lot of other things that I want to tackle this summer in terms of projects. So, like I said, I want to put some more time and effort into my spinning and get better at that. I am going to be casting on another sweater, challenging myself with that, especially because this is going to be one that's more fitted, or it has a little bit more shaping to it, right? It's not just a boxy sweater. Not that I'm complaining about the Clark pullover, like that is exactly what I wanted out of it. It's just, again, it wasn't a challenging knit in that respect. So I think the breathing space sweater is going to challenge me a little bit more. And decided for my ongoing summer knitting project, I wanted to do something that I've never done before, kind of challenge myself in that respect, and also beautify my home. So I've decided I really want to make a set of, this is going to sound so ridiculous, a set of placemats and a table runner for my dining room table. Back in April, I realized doing an Instagram challenge, of all things, that I don't have any handmade decor in my house. We have one painting that's like actually like a painting that we got on a trip, but other than that, I don't believe we have anything that was handmade by myself or anyone we know. Yeah, and I don't know, I feel like fiber arts especially are such a big part of my life that it almost feels ridiculous that I don't have anything handmade in my home, right? Like, other than my mess of yarn everywhere, I feel like you wouldn't walk into this home and know that, oh yeah, a crafter lives here, or a knitter, or a dyer, right? You know, when I actually get my house cleaned up and all of my yarn is put away, you know, there's nothing necessarily that represents that. And I kind of feel like my house should represent me, and it should represent Jordan too. I think it skews a little more Jordan than me at the moment. So I decided, it's all a lot of preamble to explain why I want to try something new this summer, and I want to make some placemats and a table runner. Placemats first. I don't know why that seems more manageable to me, but it does. But yeah, so we've got, I'm like looking around the iPad to see my kitchen table, or my dining room table. We've got a place that's a table that seats 6. So I need to make 6 placemats, and then I want a table runner that is long enough for when like the leaf is put in it, right? When we've got it fully extended. So it's gonna have to be like a 72-inch table runner, I believe. I think that's the size that I've bought for it before. So that's my plan. I'm gonna make some home decor stuff. I've done like knit, or yeah, both knit and crocheted, like washcloths, but that's basically it. So this is gonna be something new for me. And yeah, I'm wondering if any of you guys want to join me on this little home decor project challenge sort of thing. Would you guys be interested in doing this as a knit along? If so, I can arrange prizes and things like that. Or are you totally not interested in this at all? Which is fine. I'm still gonna do it either way, because it's something that I want to do for my home. And I think it's I don't know, it's different. It's not anything I've really done before. I feel like all of my knitting recently has been socks, now a scarf, or sweaters, right? Like, I feel like I've fallen into a little bit of a rut in that respect, especially with my sock knitting. Like, I expected to just be done with socks after March. That's all I knit in the month of March. But no, clearly not. But yeah, I kind of want to do something new and different for me. So if you guys have any experience with this, I haven't really decided whether I'm going to do crochet or knit or knitting. I may do one for one project, one for another. But yeah, if you've got any tips or tricks or things like that, I'd love to hear them. Again, comment down below. That would be really, really good to hear. If you've made placemats, especially before, what'd you use? I've been looking through knit picks because I think I'm going to go with knit picks for my my yarn for this project or these projects, and I'm leaning towards one of their cotton blends. I don't think I'm going to do Dishy, which is their 100% cotton worsted weight yarn. So part of the issue is I haven't found a pattern on Ravelry that I really, really am in love with. So I may be winging it. Yeah, because it's not enough to just take on a new style of project that I've never done before. I need to make up my own pattern too. But yeah, so I'm not sure though what weight yarn makes the most sense. I think I want to do some sort of 2-color project. So whether that's double knitting or a mosaic knitting, I'm not sure. I'm honestly like just telling you every thought that I've had about this project. This is really the extent of the planning so far. At least for the placemats. The table runner, I don't know what I want to do yet there. I think it'll probably be a 1-color project. Probably some flavor of lace, but I'm not sure. That may end up crocheted. I don't know yet. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm not sure what fiber blend makes the most sense. I'm thinking I don't want any kind of wool. All right, this needs to be something that can get some abuse, right? It's going to be a very practical item, and it needs to be able to go in the washing machine and the dryer, to be honest. I've been looking at both their yarn that's like that Cotlin, which is a cotton and linen blend, and I've got other ones too. They've got one, I think that's a cotton and acrylic blend, and one that's a cotton and modal blend, which is like a beech wood fiber. And I've used a yarn with cotton and modal before, or maybe it was linen and modal. And I really liked it. It's really, really pretty. It's nice to work with. I'm not sure about how it'll block out, if it'll be too drapey. I really don't know. So if you've used any of these yarns from knit picks before, or again, if you've made home decor kind of stuff before, especially like placemats or a table runner. Carrie, I'm looking at you. I remember you mentioned you made a table runner for your mom out of something from knit picks in the past. Sorry to randomly call you out like that. But yes, please comment below. Please give me any sort of advice. I really actually super honestly value all of the feedback you guys give me. So again, I'm happy to receive any advice you guys have on this stuff. Yeah, and again, if you'd like to join me on this, doing any kind of home decor, I'm thinking like literally all summer. I think I'll stop. I'm thinking if it's a knit along, I'm thinking I'm gonna just take it to September 1st, right? Or Labor Day weekend, right? Right, and just see what we can do. So let me know what you think, if that interests you at all or not. And then any advice, any cautionary tales, anything like that you could give me, really would love to hear it. And again, about this stuff, or even about, again, that breathing space sweater, that would be really helpful too. Yeah, whew, I feel like I just babbled and babbled there. All right, moving on to shop update stuff. I continue to have my cable needle here to gesture with. Like I said, I am working with a new wholesaler, a new supplier, and I've got some new bases. So I was kind of just poking around online a couple weeks ago, just kind of exploring, seeing what was out there, and came across a new to me bare yarn supplier, wholesaler, who is really invested in cruelty-free fiber, right? Working closely with their fiber suppliers to make sure they not only get the best raw materials they can, but that they can, you know, guarantee that the ranches, the farms, and all that are using best practices and treating their livestock, their animals, and the environment really, really well, right? And they are really motivated and like passionate, especially about making sure that their animals are not at all being harmed during the shearing process or during, you know, while they're being raised or anything like that. For example, right, they don't work with any farms that use, I think it's called mulesing, which is this practice used on sheep to try and, it's used to try and prevent sort of fly-related illnesses, but ends up potentially, I mean, honestly being harmful to the sheep, right? It is fairly cruel, and there are other ways to prevent these fly-related issues. So I don't really want to get into it. It's kind of gross and makes me sad, but if you Google it, like, you can find information about it. Mulesing. But yeah, so they don't work with any farms that use that system. And they work very closely with the mill that spins all their fiber and all that kind of stuff. So that I'm really excited about that, to know 100% that the yarn that I'm dyeing, right, and that I'm sending out in the world is 100% cruelty-free and kind of ethically sourced and raised and all that kind of stuff. Like, that makes me sleep better at night. You know what I mean? So I was really excited about that sort of philosophy from this wholesaler. So I decided to check out some of their fiber, and I am really, really excited about it. It's some cool stuff. So I've got 4 new bases that I haven't named yet, or anything like that. They're all fingering weight for now, just to kind of test the waters with this new supplier. And I'm really excited to debut them in the shop. I'm a little nervous. I haven't dyed on them yet, and it's partly because I'm a little nervous to like commit them to a colorway. Do you know what I mean? It's probably ridiculous, and I'm in my own head about it, but I'm just like, I don't know what colorways to dye. I'm having a little bit of like writer's block, some dyer's block. But yeah, let's go over them. I'm really excited about them, and I'll explain at the end why I'm extra excited about these. But excuse the crinkling. Unfortunately, they're all like 4-plies. They're not immediately identifiable by sight necessarily, like which base is which. So I'm keeping them kind of in their packages, and I'm gonna have to get like some ribbon or something when I'm dyeing to make sure I know what's what. I'll have to take texture notes. Right, before, when I had a 4-ply and a 2-ply, it was immediately clear, or like one with Stellina, you know, which base was which. But anyway, so the first one I'm gonna show you. Yes, this is my baby alpaca. I'm super excited about this one. It is, what are the details? 400 meters or 437 yards for 100 grams. So it's, you know, a fingering weight for sure. It is 100% baby alpaca. And it is like, seriously, the softest, squishiest, most glorious yarn ever. I'm really, really stoked about it. I love baby alpaca. I used to knit with it a lot, actually. Haven't really so much in the last year or so, mostly because I'm knitting with more indie dyed yarns. And I personally don't know of a lot of any indie dyers using it. I'm sure there are, I mean, there must be, but none that at least I've come across. So I'm really excited about this. part of what I really love about baby alpaca is that it is, I mean, first of all, it's super, super soft. It is like 100 times softer than wool, but it's also, I find, to be really well wearing. And it is actually warmer. It creates a warmer fabric than wool does because it's loftier, right? It traps more air in and ends up being better insulating. So I have made, sorry, I'm like just, it's seriously like the most comforting, softest stuff in the world. Probably look like such a freak right now, whatever. I don't even care. I've done mittens in baby alpaca before, and hats and cowls, right? Small winter accessories, and they are perfect. Right? Anything, especially that's going to be close to the face, I really love in baby alpaca because it's so soft. And it's also a hypoallergenic fiber, which I did not realize until I was doing a little bit more research, but because there's no lanolin in it, like you get in wool, right? It's hypoallergenic. So yeah, I mean, really, it's a freaking delight. I really don't want to have to put this down right now, but I have to. All right, so baby alpaca for one. I don't know what the base will be named yet, but stay tuned for details. In my Etsy shop, I'll have explanations and all that kind of stuff of names and bases. Here, the other, I've never really had a luxury base before, and now I have two. So I don't know, I consider like baby alpaca to be a luxury, quote unquote luxury base. The other one I finally have an MCN, or merino cashmere nylon blend, and again, this is so incredibly soft, right? It's even got a bit of a sheen to it, just the raw wool. I don't know if you can tell so much there, but yeah, superwash merino, cashmere, and nylon. It's a little bit thicker of a fingering weight. I think it's kind of, I'd say this one's kind of halfway between, it's either a light sport or a heavy fingering, kind of right in that little happy place. So it's 350 meters or 382 yards for 100 grams. So a little bit thicker, a little plumper, right? But again, incredibly, incredibly soft. Really, I think this is going to have beautiful drape. And so the cool thing about, like, I've actually been, now that I carry it, I've done a little bit of research into this kind of blend, right? And so apparently part of the reason why you often see nylon in these merino cashmere blends is that the nylon adds a little bit of extra durability, because I guess cashmere can be a fairly short staple length, a short fiber. I could be totally making this up. I'm not making it up, but I could be getting it wrong, is what I mean. Apparently, in order for it to wear well, you need to have a little bit of nylon in there to give the yarn a little extra stability. So, fun fact. Fun fact about MCN. So yeah, I mean, again, super gorgeous, super soft, a little bit plumper. I think these will be phenomenal mittens. Right? Really, anything close to the skin, really beautiful. I don't know what to dye on it. I don't know what to name it. This is kind of where I'm coming to you guys for help. If there is a colorway of mine that you would like to see on one of these bases, again, comment below, let me know, and I will make that happen, right? It doesn't even have to be one that I've been dyeing recently, right? I'm suffering from a little bit of dyer's block, and I think it's because I'm so excited to use these new bases that I almost, like, I've kind of paralyzed myself, right? Does that make any sense to you? Or am I just a little bit nuts? Because I swear this happens to me on the regular. All right, and then I've got two more workhorse yarns, right? Just kind of like how my Chaussette and my Normandy base were a little bit more sort of standard and workhorsey. These two that I'm about to show you are kind of fall into that sort of niche, right? Kind of thinking of these more as my sock yarn. So I'm like looking at the label on the bags. Yes, my workhorse yarns. All right, so this I think is basically going to be my direct replacement for chaussette, right? It is again another 4-ply sock yarn, really. It's 400 meters again, or 437 yards for 100 grams. So again, pretty solid normal fingering weight. It is a merino nylon blend, superwash merino. And yeah, it's a super soft merino too, which is kind of cool. So it's definitely softer than my old chaussette blend, or my old chaussette base. But kind of has that same look to it, and it's a little bit plumper of a gauge, a little bit thicker of a yarn. So I don't think I'd have to do, like, talked about this last week, right? How I'd have to add stitches when I'd make socks on my chaussette base. This wouldn't be the case for this base, right? It is an 85-15 blend, so 10% less nylon, right? So it's more wool. Really soft. I think I might do some self-striping. I've got a self-striping colorway that I'm thinking of bringing out this month. Yeah, got some plans. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do for my July sock club. I think I'll do the self-striping separately from that. But anyway, sorry. But I'm thinking I'll do it on this base, right? Really love it. It's got this sort of luster to it. This almost like, I don't know. It's really pretty. Really pretty, really soft. And I think is going to be really sturdy and wear really well. All of the reviews online that I found and all the feedback that people had left on these things suggested it wears really well, which obviously is important, especially for sock knitting. And then the last one, and I'm excited about this last one because I've never used it before. And it's a little bit more, it's a little rougher. It's not as soft, I'll say, as the merino nylon blend, or really any of the other ones, right? The luxury ones are obviously like the softest, like most cloud-like. This is definitely a little bit rougher. It reminds me almost of a BFL, but it's polworth, which I'm really excited about. It's definitely it's 100% superwash polworth. It's got a little bit more sheen to it than just a straight up merino. It's got a little bit of spring to it, just kind of naturally. And what really drew me to it is, it's something unique, which is always exciting. But it's supposed to give really good stitch definition, right? So for shawls or pattern socks, things like that, I think this would be phenomenal. It's supposed to be real strong and give really good stitch definition, which who doesn't want that? Again, 400 meters, 437 yards for 100 grams, so another true fingering weight, right? And it's just cool. I'm really excited about it. It really does just kind of have a sheen to it, which is kind of cool, which unfortunately I don't think the camera is quite picking up on. But yeah, so I've got polworth now, the merino nylon, the merino cashmere nylon, the MCN base, and some baby alpaca. Right. The really cool thing about this, what I am almost most excited about, like this whole thing, I'm super stoked about this whole new wholesaler thing for me, is that I'm able to get all of these yarns for about the same price as I was getting my old yarn for my previous wholesaler. Right, so I can offer these super luxury, you know, bases, right? This merino cashmere nylon and the baby alpaca for the same price as I was offering my stellina base, right? So for, you know, $27. And I can maintain, right, the price on both the polworth and the merino nylon blend for the same price as my old sock blends, right? The Chaussette and the Normandy base, right? So pricing wise, it's not going up any, right? It's the same cost for you guys, but it's cruelty free, and you know, it's either luxury bases, like true luxury bases, or I don't know, softer, at least, and more interesting, I think, bases. So I'm really stoked about this. I am so excited about it. I'm using 90s slang about it, right? Yeah, I'm really excited about this new wholesaler, and yeah. Sorry, I'm like reading my notes about all the different bases. So yeah, I think I actually got through everything. Like I actually took like legitimate notes. It's like, I need to tell everybody about this. It's so exciting. So I'm gonna be debuting them in the store, not this week, but next week. In part because I decided I kind of wanted to come to you guys for suggestions for colorways to dye up. I'm so excited. I've given myself dyer's block. And I'm so excited apparently that I am coughing. But, yep. So if there are any colorways you'd like to see on any of these bases, let me know. Yeah, I'm super excited that I can offer these things to you guys, like, for the same price, right? Like there's no price increase, right? For yarn that I can guarantee is not, you know, is cruelty free, right? Which I don't know whether or not my old yarn was, right? I couldn't guarantee that before, but I can now, which is really exciting to me, right? It's ethical, right? Which is really, I don't know why that's so important to me. I can't really articulate just why that is, but it is, right? So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you've ever worked with polworth before. Let me know what that's like, because I kind of went out on a limb and kind of added that to to my order just to kind of see what it's like. The descriptions all sound good. I'm excited, like actually like feeling it. I'm excited to work with it. But if you've ever worked with it yourself, right? If you've ever crocheted or knit with polworth before, let me know what you think of it. So yeah, all these sorts of things down in the comments below. I would really appreciate it. All right, I'm apparently coughing now, so I think that's probably a good sign that it is time to go. I will 100% cast this sweater on. Like that is 100% what is about to happen as soon as I turn this iPad off. And I will see you guys again next week. Bon tricot, happy knitting. Bye.